So let's hope they get here safely. All right, so the topic from savers to investors. This theme was used in October as part of the Financial Information Month. We even had a session and it was well received. So given that the stock exchanges in Grenada for our annual meeting, we saw it fit to continue this discussion given the good feedback that we had there. So with me here today and presenting on this topic is, well, virtually it's Miss Yulika Armini Brown. She's the Business Development Executive at the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange. In person, your very own Miss Lucia Andal Livingston, Chairman of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. Ms. Gail Combach, Business Development Manager at First Citizens Investment Services. Yeah. And of course, again, your very own Ms. Kishelle Francis, Senior Wealth Manager and Financial Services Officer at the Grenada Cooperative Bank. Now, the topic from savers to investors again, from inception, from small, we've been told to save and keep saving. And while this has worked and we need to keep doing it, over the last couple of years, what the inflation has told us is that it could be very brutal. I mean, right now in your bank accounts, you're getting 2%. And in the height of the pandemic, inflation was about 6-8%. I mean, you wouldn't see this coming out of your bank accounts directly, but indirectly, it's really eroding your wealth. So it's critical that we pivot and move towards investing sustainably and responsibly to ensure that we hedge our wealth and make sure that our future is secure. So firstly, I want to invite, as I said, virtually, Ms. Yuluka T. Armini Brown. Just give me a second. Now, Ms. Brown, a citizen of St. Kitts and Nevis, joined the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange in October 2021. In the position of Business Development Executive, her core responsibilities include assisting in developing and implementing marketing and business strategies for the achievement of the group's revenue goals. Previously, she held the positions of Business Development Manager, which preceded her role as a manager, Group Marketing and Special Projects, a Delisle Walwyn and Company Limited portfolio, that she was a Senior Corporate Relations Officer at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank. She also served as a Director and Corporate Secretary on the board of Federation Media Group over a 2-year period, and is currently a Director on the board of the Sans Communication Association. Ms. Armini Brown holds a Master's of Science degree in Project Management from Arden University, United Kingdom, and a Bachelor of Commerce degree with a double major in Finance and Management from St. Mary's University in Canada. Mrs. Armini Brown is a member of the past executive member of the Business and Professional Women's St. Kitts chapter. She enjoys spending time with family and friends and engaging in nature-related activities. Help me to welcome Ms. Armini Brown from virtually to present from the Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange. Over to you, Local. You hearing us?
Yes, I'm hearing you. Are you hearing me okay?
Very clearly, thank you.
Okay, excellent. And you're seeing my screen?
Yes, everybody's seeing your screen? Yeah, we're good.
Okay, great. Great. Well, good morning. My name is Yuluka Armini Brown, and I'm very pleased, although it wasn't planned, but I'm very pleased nonetheless to be here representing the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange.
Yuluka, sorry to interrupt you. Would you be having slides?
Yes. Are you not seeing my screen?
No. We're just seeing your face at the moment.
Okay, let me stop and try again. Okay, what about now?
We were not seeing anything at the moment.
Okay, IT team on the ground. Be able to assist?
Just hold 1 second.
Sure.
Ah, all right, there we go. You look we're seeing your presentation now, so you could proceed.
Okay, fantastic. The first step to learning and advancing your knowledge is awareness. So I'm hoping that at least I could provide, especially those who are not too familiar with the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, to provide you with some insights. Okay, so in terms of about the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, we are a regional securities exchange established in 2001 with the purpose of facilitating the buying and selling, that's called trading, of financial products, such as corporate stocks, government bonds, corporate bonds, on an organized, regulated securities market across the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. The Eastern Caribbean Central Securities Depository is a wholly owned subsidiary of the ECSE and is licensed both as a clearing agency as well as a securities registry. The group is headquartered in St. Kitts and Nevis, and it's licensed to operate across the ECCU. At the time of the ECSE group's establishment, the ECCB, that's the central bank, believed that it was necessary to have a regional market to address some deficiencies in the market, and realized that governments and companies were heavily reliant on bank financing, and there was insufficient investment opportunities for the public. And so hence the creation and development of the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market and the exchange. Our mission is to provide the ECCU with an accessible marketplace in which to issue and trade securities, to clear and settle trades, and to register companies in a transparent, seamless, confidential, and secure manner. And our vision is to be the medium of choice for wealth creation and capital raising in the Eastern Caribbean Currency Union. Fun fact, we just celebrated 23 years last month, October. And so we have been around for some time. In terms of some of the benefits achieved from the launch of the ECSE and the market on a whole, includes improvement of mobilization of capital and the reduction in the overdependence on debt financing, and improving the pricing of securities issued on the ECCU. Okay, so in terms of the market itself, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market, there are a number of players in the market. You will hear shortly from the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission, which is the overarching body that regulates the market and licenses all the participants. So the ECSC and the ECSSD is licensed by the Commission, and the Commission has oversight responsibility and the powers vested via the Securities Act, which is a uniform legislation that has been passed across all ECCU member countries. We also have the broker-dealers, and that will be discussed more in detail when we have the broker-dealers presenting their presentation. But essentially, they're intermediaries in the market, so they're the ones that liaise directly with the issuer, so the company or government that wishes to raise capital on the exchange. They're the ones that facilitate that. And they also liaise and interact with you, the investor. So if you're interested in investing in securities on the market, you need to open an account and liaise with a broker-dealer. And more details would be provided by a broker-dealer when we get into that presentation. So what do we do in terms of some of our core services? We operate a primary market, which allows issuers to raise money through issuing new securities. So when companies come to the market for the first time to issue securities, and investors purchase those securities. That is called primary market activity. We also operate secondary market. That's where an investor that has securities already and wishes to sell securities to other investors. So there's buying and selling of securities by investors. That's called secondary market activity, and we facilitate those markets. We also facilitate post-trade services, the clearing and settling of primary market auctions and secondary market trades. So to ensure that sellers get paid for securities that they have sold and buyers receive the securities they have bought. We also maintain, through our registry services, we maintain the register of security holders. We provide and process corporate actions, results in distribution of income to investor on behalf of issuers. We also provide custody and trustee services to collective investment schemes, insurance, statutory funds, and pension fund plans. That's one of our newer services we offer, and we publish reports on market activities and issuer filings and disclosures. So these are some of our core responsibilities. We also are advocates for corporate governance, and so we provide training and promotion of good governance standards through webinars and through directors accreditation. That's one of the things that we do. Just to give you a little snapshot of the ECSC as of the last quarter ended 30th September. So there were at the time 180 securities listed. Majority of those were sovereign debt securities, and we had 13 equities or shares listed on the ECSC from across the region. As at that time, and since launch in 2001, we've raised, the companies that have issued on the market have raised $202.8 million. And the capital raised by governments since the initiation of the regional government securities market. The regional government securities market offers the primary issuance of government securities on the market, and the ECSC then facilitates the secondary trading. So the governments raised $20.3 billion over that period. Okay, so as mentioned, there are two markets, essentially. The regional government securities market launched in 2002. It's a primary market for sovereign debt. They issue treasury bills, treasury notes, and government bonds. And then there's the Eastern Caribbean securities market, which I would have mentioned, and I talked about all the players. And this is the primary market for corporate debt and equity, and also is a secondary market for sovereign debt, corporate debt, and equity. So in terms of the primary market auctions, on trading days, brokers enter or adjust orders. When raising capital, governments and issuers publish a document called a prospectus, which outlines the money that they're raising and will be used for. Brokers enter the bids and they receive their clients into the electronic auction platform that is operated by the ECSC during the period specified for the auction, which is normally held between 9 a.m. and 12 p.m., but can be held on multiple days. For government securities, auctions are done by fixed price and competitive bidding, which means that brokers compete to offer the government the best rate on the securities being auctioned, with the auctioning settling at one interest rate that all investors receive. So that's how the government securities market works. At the end of the auction platform calculates security. For the equities, the issuer sets the prices. So you, as the company issuing securities in the market, they set the prices. They wish to sell the shares, and investor evaluates that offer and decides whether to purchase the shares or not. At the end of the auction platform calculates the securities that gets allocated to the various auctions and are settled T+1, and the securities are fully dematerialized. T+1 is trading day +1. So once when the issues are, the securities are traded plus one other day, and that's by the end of that day, the settlement happens. On trading days, brokers enter or adjust orders on behalf of their clients to buy and sell securities using the electronic trading system operated on the ECSC. During the trading hours, the system continuously tries to execute trades once the prices on the orders match. I'm just giving you sort of an overview of how it actually all works. At the end of the trading day, closing prices are determined based on the volume weighted average price of a security, which is calculated using only round lot trades, which are determined depending on the price of the security. The ECSC publishes information about upcoming auctions, the results of auctions, and the results of daily trading activity on this website, and shares this information with the media so that this information is disseminated as widely as possible. So all this information you can find also on our website. And finally, we'll discuss just the general steps for investing. I'm not going to go into details because this will be likely discussed with the broker-dealer. As mentioned, they are the ones that are the intermediaries for the market and liaise directly with issuers as well as investors. So in terms of the investor, you need to establish an account with your broker-dealer. You place an order to buy or sell with a broker. The broker places the order on the market, and then if you bought shares, you provide your broker with the money to pay for the shares. So that's a general 4-step method. And of course, there are more details that the broker can provide you. And we have a question answer section if you would like to learn more. So we have a website which has a wealth of information. So if you're starting out as a new investor, we encourage you to look at our brochures. If you click on the tab Information Center, it will provide you with information brochures that highlight some of the information in terms of how you can start your journey as an investor. It talks about the various types of securities. We also have frequently asked questions. And so some common questions that persons ask, you can find the answers to those questions on the website. We provide the listed securities. So the 13 equities that I mentioned are all shown on our website, as well as you can see details of the upcoming the upcoming auctions for government securities. And we have government securities auctioning every month. So we have a pretty active government securities market. And then we also provide market reports. So all of this information you can find on our website. So feel free to browse our website. And that's it for me. Also mentioning too, we encourage you, we are on social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, as well as LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is not placed here, but we are on LinkedIn more recently. So feel free to reach out to us. We post information all the time, including any information on upcoming webinars and seminars, just as this one that you are attending. So that's it from me. And I look forward to your questions and discussion later on.
Okay, thank you, Luca. And help me to give Luca a round of applause. So just some housekeeping matters. Each presenter would go through their presentation, and at the end, we would leave an open session for question and answer. So what Luca just did was to show you the platform that we have in place. It's a very efficient platform. I'm not sure if she mentioned that, if she was just being modest, but we have those systems in place ready for you to start trading. Now, to give the perspective of how this is regulated, we have here with us the chairman of the ECSRC, your very own sister of the soil, Lucia and Livingston, and she would bring the perspective from the regulator to give you an idea of how things are working. All right, so help me welcome Ms. Livingston.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. So Lauren said Lucia. So you're from St. Lucia, yes? So I'm Lucia, Livingston Andel. Yeah. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm so happy to be here and to welcome all the smiling faces in front of me. It's good that you're smiling, yeah? It gives me a level of comfort. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Most of you would know me as a credit union personality. I was in a Rice Credit Union for the past 25 years, so most of you would know me there. What you do not know is that I simultaneously held another job, that of Commissioner on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. And I held that position for 14 years as a commissioner, 5 years as a deputy chair, and last year I was appointed as the chairman. So I've been around for a while. Thank you. So I was not supposed to be speaking this morning. I'm supposed to be sitting where you are, supporting the CEO, who should have been making the presentation, but who is currently stuck in Barbados, as Lauren would have told you, trying to get onto Inter-Caribbean. So hopefully she's going to be here for tomorrow's session. So I do apologize, I don't have a presentation and all of that, but I think I'm familiar enough with the material to be able to have a chat with you as to what we do. So again, I'm very, very pleased to be associated with this session and to join the ECSE and the broker-dealers in celebrating 23 years of the stock exchange. Yes, we are around for 23 years. The Securities Act is the Regional Securities Act that has been uniform throughout all of the countries of the ECCU of 2001. So, are we aware of that? That for the past 23 years, we have an Eastern Caribbean Stock Exchange? We don't know. I'll tell you a secret. One of the things that we did recently is in recognition of just that, is to do a consultation throughout the region, all of the major market participants and people, important people in the region, to see what is your understanding? How do you feel? How would you like us to change? What do you know? What would you like to see? And one of the things that came out very clearly is that there is much need for much more publicity, for public information. They said, basically, you seem to be invisible, and we want to change that. And we are going to change that. And those of you who were perhaps, is there anybody here who was at the training center on the 12th of November? Yes, so we did start the process with the governor of the central bank to introduce again what we're doing, the Eastern Caribbean Securities Exchange, but more importantly, it is to introduce again the stock exchange and to encourage people to move from being just savers to investors. Because you can't get rich by savings, can you? No. You save some money, yes, it's important to save, but we have to make that next step to move from saver to investor to be able to have the multiplier effect of our monies and to accelerate our growth and to have wealth. Wealth creation comes from investments. So I'm happy to be in this second session as we continue in that journey towards greater visibility, greater public awareness. But I must tell you, this is not about just telling you things. We expect you to make the move, because you could have all of the information, you could learn all of the things you need to learn, and you don't take the next step in that fourth step that was just introduced to you, to move to get a broker-dealer, set up an account, and actually invest, then that all of this information will go to naught. So after all of this we say today, we expect you to make that move, be action-oriented. So yes, we've been around for 23 years. We are the authority that governs the regulation of securities, all securities business in the region. So there are two regional regulatory bodies. There is the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank that regulates all of the financial transactions and business relating to commercial banking. We know that. We know the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, yes? And then there's the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission that regulates and governs all of the activities surrounding securities business and securities trading. So I'm that arm of these two regulatory bodies. Our primary role is investor protection. We have to ensure that we administer the Securities Act and regulations and all of the subsidiary laws that might relate to securities, that we regulate and we ensure that our participants, our market participants, operate in keeping with these rules and its regulations and the Act. So that's our primary role. And we do that in a number of ways. One is that we govern and we regulate the intermediaries. So we have the licensed intermediaries who have the authority to trade. And to do that, you must be licensed under the authority. So you must be licensed as a licensed financial intermediary under the securities law. In addition, and these are all our broker-dealer operations, and then we have, in addition to that, the persons who work within these organizations must also be licensed. So in order to offer brokerage business, for example, you must have within your organization, within your organizational structure, you must have a licensed representative and a licensed what? Principal, right. So the principal is the most senior position, yes? Right. So you have a licensed principal and a licensed representative. I'm asking this question, like, these are the players here. these are the players here with me. And they're all licensed by the ECSRC. But in order to get licensed, they must also qualify and be certified under our ECSM certification program. So there's a very rigorous examination. Now, I did that examination many, many moons ago, probably 15 years ago. I think it was easier then. But yes, and once you qualify, and that involves your written exam, and also I think they also do part of the trading on the trading platform. And once you're certified under that program, then you are qualified to become a licensed representative or a licensed principal to operate within a broker-dealer operations within the OECS, within the ECC region. So we do that as a regulatory body. We also supervise and monitor the performance of what we call issuing companies. So if there's any company that has any publicly listed shares, or even if you're not listed on the stock exchange, but you are offering shares to the public, then you are what we call a reporting issuer, and you must report to the regulation periodically on various aspects that we have under the law. And again, I don't recall exactly what everything is, but again, that is to provide transparency and to ensure that all of the information that you must divulge as a business to your shareholders, that these things are done. So, for example, you must have your annual general meeting, you must have your audited financial statements, and you must have quarterly reports, and so that must be also submitted to the Regulatory Commission, and we review, and then we sign off or not sign off based on what you present. Now, we take our work very seriously, so that in fact, there are times when we've had to take necessary punitive actions under the law to ensure that people are in compliance. So for example, if you perhaps go on our page today, you might see that we have in fact fined one company $100,000 for not adhering to some of the requirements. And sometimes we have to do certain things such as issue public notices that this person has gone afoul of XYZ. And in other cases, when certain things are brought to our attention that is outside of the regulations and the Act. So for example, for you to be able to trade securities and issue securities on the market or do any kind of activity, you must be licensed or operating through a licensed broker-dealer. So if it's brought to our attention that is happening, somebody might just slip into our market with some esoteric product and offer it to our people who might not perhaps be paying the necessary attention, perhaps might be gullible or what have you, and you find, and people will participate in that. So in a number of cases, we've had to issue cease and desist notices to certain companies that are not operating in accordance with the Act, the regulations, and all of the subsidiary laws that govern securities trading. So that's our first responsibility, primary, investor protection. And while I'm speaking about investor protection, I want you to be aware that not all of the activities on the market are covered under our ambit. So for example, we don't cover Forex trading. And I'm sure you might have been approached, or so you heard of someone who has been approached with some nice deal with regards to Forex trading. And you might say, that sounds good and I want to participate. But be aware that if you're doing that, you do that on your own. You're on your own, because we don't govern at this moment Forex trading. We do not govern cryptocurrency and anything related to that. Again, I'm not saying that perhaps it might not be something in the future. Right now, it is not. We have no expertise at this moment in the depth that is required to understand and to advise and to supervise and to monitor cryptocurrency trading. And as such, we're not involved in that. Again, if you're offered and you see there's a good deal and whatever, then you're on your own. And I'm not saying it's wrong or right. There are other places that you could get information and inform yourself, because once you're comfortable, then there are other trading platforms, other countries that could offer. But right now, we need to let you know that we don't cover these areas of trading. We also do not, so that all of the protection is through all of the products, the securities, the equities, the whatever that are traded on the security exchange. And our previous speaker would have given you some of the indication of some of the option products. We have 13, I think, equities at the moment traded listed on this securities exchange. And we, of course, the more common one is the government securities that are more regularly trading. And I think it's important that we become involved and we become knowledgeable of what is offered on the RGSM, which is a regional government securities market, because that's where all of the securities of our governments are trading, and it's much more frequent and much more available. So that's one. That's our investor protection mandate. But we also have another mandate of growing the market. Because of course, if there is no market, there is no need to protect, there is nothing happening. So we have a responsibility as well to ensure that we facilitate market growth and remove all of the impediments that might be standing in the way of people participating in the market and being actively involved. And you would have heard this morning that, yes, we have to become, you and I have to become much more active in terms of our participation in the market. It is not sufficient anymore to say, okay, I put my money in the bank and I put my money in the credit union, and it will go for me, it's going to stay there. And that is not going to grow at the rate that you want it to grow. It's not going to grow to provide you the kind of wealth that you need. You need to get your money to work for you. What does that mean? It means that you have to be assertive. You can no longer be, just a laissez-faire, sit-back person. Pay attention. Pay attention to what is happening in the market. Pay attention to the products that are available. Actively get up and start a broker-dealer account in one of your broker-dealer firms, and be aware and give the necessary instructions whenever you're aware that a product is coming on the market, an issue is coming on the market, be it government bonds, be it government securities, be it corporate securities, what have you, but actively participate. That is the only way that you'll be able to really ensure that your money work for you to the extent that you require it to work. And again, one of your greatest friends in that is time. Time. We know the value of time. We know the multiplier effect. So every day you sit by is another day that's gone by without you participating, without you having your money grow for you, without experiencing and benefiting from the multiplier effect of having your money grow. So, sometimes people say, okay, I will time the market and I will get in at the right time and then get out at the right time. And we always say, we're not advocating at all that you time the market. So it's not timing the market, but rather time in the market. You invest for a long time, because it's not a get-rich-quick thing. It's to go in there and see how the growth happens over time. And of course, growth comes from the performance of the companies that you have invested in. It comes from changes in inflation and interest rates, et cetera, et cetera. So you need to be there over a period of time to really benefit from the growth potential that's available. So yes, we are investor protection. We are investor trying to ensure that the market grows. And a number of things has happened recently that facilitates these two responsibilities. But in terms of investor protection, in terms of market growth, we have seen a need to review and in a very detailed way all of the provisions of the Securities Act. You remember it came in 2001. And our review showed that the act basically was perhaps, and I use this word very, very, very carefully, is perhaps a bit bank-centric in the sense that it did not provide for smaller players to be more actively involved in terms of the capital requirement. Because if you don't have the necessary capital of $1 million as a startup equity, etc., then it forbids you from doing that. It also required that you be registered or as a company under the Companies Act, and it can provide for other forms of business entities and so to become active players. So all of that, we saw the need to relook, and we have had a very detailed review and amendments. I can basically say that the act has been written under consultation with all of the countries, ECCO countries, and we are hoping, and the new act, the revised bill has been approved in most of the islands, and we're hoping with one country still is involved in reviewing and analyzing, but we're hoping that in the first quarter of 2025, that the revised act is going to come on stream. But it makes it's easier, it's much more facilitatory in terms of ensuring other players becoming actively involved. Again, it is something that you should pay attention to. These are opportunities provided, not just for you as an individual, but also for business opportunities in terms of getting involved in broker-dealer operations, in new products, mutual funds, whatever. There are other opportunities that you can benefit from. So you should, again, pay attention. There are other initiatives, one of which being the governments in the review found that while there are a lot of government securities being issued, and that is the most active part of the market, but that's about 20% or less, about 14% of any issue is taken up by households and individuals. And the rest of it, the rest 87%, is taken up by institutions, pension funds and credit unions and banks and all of the companies that has liquidity requirements to meet, etc. And that's not good. That's not good in the sense that we wish to encourage, governments wish to encourage participation by everyone. And the governments have taken a decision, and we were very happy to learn that from the governor of the central bank last week, or 2 weeks ago, that the government has decided to reserve some portion of any issue for individuals and households. And that's good, that's a plus. So having reserved that, we do hope that in fact individuals and households will participate and don't allow themselves to be crowded out from any issue. So that's one. The other major happening or that's going to happen in the market is that of, again, lowering of the threshold. So right now, to participate in any government security issue, whether it be bonds or what have you, you must have a minimum capital, a minimal investment of $5,000. Now, that has found to be, in some cases, prohibitive. I don't know if all of us have $5,000 sitting there to just, take up an issue. You might have it over time, but when you will realize that once an issue is out, it goes very, very quickly. So by the time you mobilize and you get that $5,000, it's gone. It's no longer available to you. So they have decided to move that down from $5,000 to $500, again, to facilitate participation. It is not yet in effect, but it is something that we're hoping that they will do soon, having taken a decision that they're in fact going to move. And once we let you know, once that's it, that has been done, we let you know so that you can contact your broker dealer and put your trade in, put your request in, and be able to benefit from that. Another thing that might happen, and again, we have no crystal ball, but another thing that might happen, we do know that right now the minimum saving rate is being regulated by the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, and there is a threshold that you cannot go under. So what is the minimum savings rate? 2%. But once there's a likelihood and a possibility that that threshold might be removed. So it means that it might be that rates might fall lower. It's possible. I don't know. It's possible. That being the case, it means, again, that you have to be active. You have to be aware, and you have to take the decisions. I'm looking around the room and I'm seeing bright people who read, bright people who know how to pick up their phone and look at the stock, look at the web page and see what's going on and see what's happening, and not just in our market, but on the Trinidad Stock Exchange and the Bahamas Stock Exchange and all of that, and be involved, be knowledgeable, be involved. Yeah, so that's where we are in terms of market growth and market growth possibilities and changes in the legislative framework that is supposed to assist us in becoming much more active. I want to end by just asking you to please be aware and be on your guard against scams. If something is too good to be true, it is too good to be true. And therefore, you don't have to be aware. Be aware. I mentioned to you the things that we regulate as a regulatory commission. There are things that we don't. As I mentioned, cryptos are one, foreign exchange is another. Be on guard and ensure that when you invest your hard-earned savings, in fact, you are doing so in a prudent manner intended to grow your wealth over time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Sister Lucia, I should say. All right. We love our regulators, don't you?
Yes.
Of course, of course. So we've heard from the persons who have prepared the playing field, the ECSC. We've heard from the referees of the match, the regulator. Now to hear from the players, as Lucia rightfully said. So, and the first man up is Gail Cumberbatch. Gail is the Business Development Manager at First Citizens Investment Services. She holds a principal's license with the Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission. She is qualified with a bachelor's degree in business administration with a concentration in finance from the Midwestern State University and a master's of science in personal financial planning from the Texas Tech University. Ms. Cumberbatch has gained experience in the hotel industry, the banking, and the securities industry. Welcome Gail Cumberbatch.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Lauren. I'm just waiting for them to put up our slides. Okay, so as I mentioned, we're the players. So we're gonna talk a little more about the converting from savers to investors, advancing your financial goals through investing. Okay. Okay, thank you. Let's start by comparing savings and investing. Savings is basically just setting funds aside for future use. So we could put it in our mattress, we could put it in the bank. We're putting it aside for us to probably take that trip in March next year. Whereas investing is allocating resources with an expectation of generating income or profit. Some examples of investing include the purchasing of equities or shares in a business, where we expect income through dividends or profits through capital gains, where we purchase at a lower price and we sell at a maximum price, getting our profits through capital gains. You could also purchase debt with the expectation of getting income through interest payments. Some of us like to go into real estate. That is also an example of investing, and we gain our profits through buying low, selling high, or getting income through rentals. We can also invest in a business where our expectation is to generate income and profits. Okay, so why should we invest? Like we mentioned here, we should invest to build our wealth. This can be a form of additional income to make our money grow for us. We also need to invest to outpace inflation. Over the past couple of years, we definitely felt it, where $100 could give us probably 4 bags of groceries at Foodland in 2019, but now we'll be lucky to get 2, maybe even 1. Right? So if we look at the example I have here, if we have an investment which gives us an income of 6% and inflation is 3%, generally we get an actual gain of 3%. But if we have our funds in our savings account gaining 2% and inflation is 3%, then we actually lose 1%. We also need to invest to help us achieve our financial goals, whether it may be to purchase a car, house, or retirement. This can assist us by just increasing our general income. Some of the things we need to take into consideration to prepare to invest is to first create an emergency fund. An emergency fund is 3 to 6 months of monthly expenses, sometimes including our debt payments as well. This protects us from unexpected financial blows, whether it may be illness, loss of jobs, or maybe an accident. And it also prevents the need for us to premature or sell our investments so that we can remain on track to reach our financial goals. Another tip is to have little to no consumer debt. And we're talking about personal loans or credit cards. These debts usually are accompanied with high interest rates above 10%. So if we see in the example here, if we have a debt of 15% and we have an investment of 7%, we're actually making a net loss of 8%. So we have to look at our finances holistically when deciding to invest. Some considerations we need to make is our liquidity needs. The money that we're investing, will we be needing it in the next 5 years, 10 years, or 20 years? That will assist us in deciding on what investments that we can participate in and the tenor. Some other considerations, this one is a very important one, is our risk tolerance. What is risk tolerance? It's a measure of an investor's ability to comfortably stomach losses or the decline in the value of the investment. Right? Our risk tolerance can range from us being a very conservative investor, where our primary goal is to preserve our capital, even if it means missing out on potential gains. And it goes all the way up to an aggressive investor whose primary goal is to maximize returns. They may endure a lot of extensive volatility in the market and significant losses. So most of us range between the two. And in addition to the emotional aspect of your risk tolerance, you should also consider our capacity to take risk. Because if we look at somebody like one of the richest persons in the world, let's look at Elon Musk. Did I say it right? Elon Musk? Yeah. He has the capacity to take on a tremendous amount of risk, as opposed to, let's say, Usain Bolt. Usain Bolt is rich, but Elon Musk can take a big risk and be okay with any losses. If we look at Usain Bolt and myself, he has the capacity to take up a lot more risk than I do. Now, in terms of our liquidity needs, myself, who probably has about a little over 20 years to retirement, I could probably take on more risk than Mr. John Brown, who is retiring in the next 5 years, because I have a longer amount of time in the market to make up for any losses that may occur. So all these things are what we need to consider when we're putting together our risk tolerance. Here are some questions we can ask ourselves to see where we may fall on the spectrum of risk tolerance. When do you expect to use the money that is being invested? Due to general market corrections, your investment loses 14% of its value. What do you do? Do I take out everything from the market? Do I buy more? Or do I just sit and wait to see what happens? This is a nice one. We have reached a $10,000 plateau in a TV show. You must choose to either quit with the $10,000 or betting the entire amount for one of these three alternatives. So we could either take our money and run, we can take a 50% chance of winning $50,000, or a 20% chance of winning $75,000, or we could take a 5% chance to win $100,000. Anybody doing D? I think I'll probably be like maybe B. You see, in our market, we generally have conservative investors, which I think should change. Like we take a little risk, get comfortable in the market, build it, especially the young people who have the highest capacity. Okay, so let's with it. And when investing, we should consider our liquidity needs and our risk tolerance. And we, the players, the broker-dealers, are here to guide and assist you in your investment journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail, and I think you did a wonderful job to open the innings. Our next presenter, I believe she deserves an extra round of applause, because her efforts are the reason why we are here. She's been working day and night to make this possible. And I see her boss somewhere. I think she might need an extra Christmas bonus. Yes. So our next presenter, Ms. Kishel Francis. Kishel is an Eastern Caribbean Securities Regulatory Commission licensed principal. She is accredited to the broker-dealer operations of Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited and currently serves as the Senior Wealth Management and Financial Services Officer. In her current role, she performs oversight functions within the Wealth Management and Financial Services Department and is responsible for strategy implementation. She has been involved in securities business for the past 6 years. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome Ms. Kishel Francis.
Thank you, Lawrence. And I hope that boss has heard the cries of the people on the ground, because you never want to disappoint them, right? So thank you again, everyone, for joining us. It really is a pleasure to have you here with us. So Gail spoke to the importance of investing, and at this point, I'll take you through the importance of maintaining a relationship with your broker-dealer and how we go about doing that, right? How we go about starting the relationship. So of course, it's important to define what a broker-dealer is. So a broker-dealer is an entity that carries on the business of dealing in securities or holds itself out as conducting business, such as the provision of investment advice, the purchase of and sale of securities on behalf of clients, and the raising of capital through the issuance of securities. So for today's presentation, we'll focus mainly on the first two, which is the provision of investment advice and the purchase and sale of securities. Now, every relationship with a broker-dealer begins with a discussion. And we usually refer to this discussion, any other method that we use, as the client discovery process. During this discussion, we'll be able to garner from the customer, from the investor, these important details prior to making a recommendation, right? So we need to have an idea of your cash flow requirements, your investment objectives, your financial objectives, and your life stage as well, and your risk assessment and your need for diversification. Very important, as Gail spoke to earlier, each person would have a different tolerance for risk. And it's important at this point, that we get an idea of who you are so that when we make a recommendation, it is one that's best for you. It's very important also that the customer is very clear, provides the information honest, so that we'll provide what you truly need. Right? We don't want to have, at the end of the day, you end up with a plan that's not right for you because you've provided information that's not true, not correct. So here we can speak about the equity securities, which we usually refer to as shares in different companies. And once someone purchases or receives a share, then they become a shareholder of that company. And there are two ways that you can earn income through shares. The first is through dividend payments, and these are payments made to shareholders from the earnings of the company. So from the profits of the company, most companies would make a dividend payment. They are generally not extremely large. They're pretty small because they're coming from the profits of the company. You don't want to have a case where a company pays out 100% of its earnings in the form of dividends, because there will be nothing left for the future, right? So generally the dividend payments are made from the earnings, and they are paid in most cases annually, but there are some companies that make these payments semi-annually. The second way that you can earn from holding shares is by capital gains or increases in the market price of a security. So let's say you purchased a share today for $1 per share. So you have that share and you own it. You hold on to it, let's say for 2 years, 3 years, and you've been receiving your dividend payments. Let's say you've received 5 cents in dividend payments for the past 3 years. And you've decided at this point to sell that security, that one share. Although the minimum number is 20, right? But let's say you decide to sell that one share that you purchased. If you're able to sell that share for $2 per share, of course, the difference between what you purchased it for and what you're able to sell it for is a gain, because there was some appreciation in the value, in the capital of the security. This is really determined by the market. So when you're entering into an agreement to purchase shares or to purchase a security, it's important that you purchase one from an entity that you believe will continue to do well in the future. Because if your intention is to have some capital gain, which most people would want, which most investors would want to have, you don't want to have a case where when you're ready to sell, you're unable to even get 50 cents for that security, right? But it's also important to time these entrance and exits from the market. If you realize that the price of the share has fallen to 50 cents per share, it's up to you to decide then whether or not you'd sell at that point and get out of the market. I know Gail gave us an example of that. Sell at that point, get out because you're risk averse, or you can wait right away and expect that perhaps at some point the price would appreciate at some point, and then you'd gain on selling those securities. So currently, the minimum number of shares that can be traded is 20. So you can start investing by purchasing 20 units of shares. So here we have a list of the equities or the shares that are traded on the Eastern Caribbean Securities Market. And as we can see, they span several sectors as well as several countries. We have utilities, we have banks, we have trading entities as well. And we also have the security symbol, which is what you'd refer to them as usually. And we also have their last closing price. So this is as at the end of the trading day yesterday. If we look carefully, we'll see that the lowest price is for a company in St. Kitts and Nevis, which is $1.30. St. Kitts, Nevis, Anguilla Trading and Development Company. That's $1.30 per share. So if you had to get into an investment in this company, that would be $1.30 multiplied by 20, all right? And then the highest price instrument is the West Indies Oil Company at $57 per share. So there's a range of companies, a range of countries, a range of sectors, and it's important to sit with your broker-dealer to get an idea of which is best for you. Because you may have preferences with respect to where you invest, as well as the sector that you invest in. We always encourage our investors, however, to don't feel like you are obligated to invest in a Grenadian company. I mean, it may be nice, but at the end of the day, if you're looking out for your own good, it's best to look at the securities, compare the dividend payments over time, compare the changes in the price of the security over time, and make the best decisions. The only, I would say, disadvantage to holding a security that is outside of your own country is that you may not be able to attend a meeting if it is held in person only. But since we've been faced with COVID, I think most of the companies are having hybrid AGMs, meetings. So please don't feel like you have to, if you're from St. Lucia, you must invest in St. Lucia Electricity Services Limited. It's pretty okay if you invest in Grenada as well, Grenada Electricity Services Limited, and vice versa. So please feel free to discuss with your broker, dealer. Here we have fixed income instruments or debt instruments. Currently, the minimum investment in these instruments is $5,000. And Ms. Andel spoke to that earlier. Yes, we know that it is quite restrictive for many. And as she stated, we're hoping that at some point we'll see a reduction in the minimum acceptable rate, minimum acceptable investment. But for now, the minimum is $5,000. With these instruments, you essentially see the rates that the entities or the issuing entity is offering. So here we see that the government of St. Lucia is trying to raise $11 million and is offering a rate of 3.5%. And they're trying to raise, it's a 91-day instrument. Of course, we see 180-day instruments and 365-day instruments from the government of Antigua and government of Grenada, respectively, and the rates offered for those are 5%. Now, these are issued via a competitive uniform price auction, but well, you can discuss that with your representative once you have an interest in those. So you can compare these. Usually you look at the rate that is being offered and you compare it to the rate that you're currently receiving at your bank or your credit union, because it is the same playing field in a sense. The only thing that we encourage investors to do is to add a bit more for your risk, because you'll be undertaking a risk. It's an investment product and not a savings product. So if someone is investing in a debt instrument, we expect that they'd probably have the rate that they'd be looking for is most likely going to be greater than what they can receive from just leaving it at the bank. Because you would just leave your funds at the bank. You wouldn't get into an investment that's paying 2% if you can receive 2% from your bank, right? And have access to your funds 24/7. So security holders matters. So after you've had your discussion with your broker-dealer and you've decided which instrument you wish to purchase, you've made the purchase, you've transferred your funds, and it's successful, then you are expected to receive confirmation statements from your broker-dealer. Yuluka spoke to it earlier, I believe, when she was mentioning settlement at T+1. So if a trade occurs today, and that's trade day, on the day after, the securities will be transferred into an account held in your name. Once that has been done, you'll receive a confirmation statement from your broker-dealer, and that statement will give you information about that specific trade. We also have registry account statements that are sent by the ECCSD, and that is the entity that manages the movement of these securities. So you usually receive a statement annually with all of the securities that you hold. You also have the ability to make changes to your accounts. So if you have moved, if you have a new mailing address, then you can make updates to these as well. You can update your payment information and your contact information. Payment information, very important. Once you receive payments from those securities, it will be sent directly to you, not to the broker-dealer. So let's say you purchase shares, you're expected to receive a dividend payment. That payment will go into an account in your name, a bank account or a credit union account. It doesn't have to be an account held in a company of the broker-dealer. It can be wherever you choose within the ECCU. Outside of the ECCU, it can be done as well via wire transfers. So it's very important to ensure that your payment information is up to date. Charge of securities. Once you have those securities, you have the option of pledging those assets. Because it is an asset, or they are assets, you can use them as collateral for loans or for any other lending product. You'd simply be, in essence, your name will still be on the instrument, but it will be pledged to that entity that you're borrowing the funds from for the period that you intend to borrow from them for. So we use them as collateral as well. And then, of course, you have the option to transfer those securities via donation transfer. And we also have transfers upon the death of the security holder. So let's say someone purchased some shares, they passed away, or a debt instrument, they passed away. And whoever the administrator is, whoever the executor is, would present those documents to us and have the securities transferred. Because, as I stated earlier, they are assets. And then we have notices of security offerings, newsletters, and other communications. And once you've established an account with a broker-dealer, you'd receive communication from them from time to time. Things that they think you would be interested in, of course, based on the conversation that you had before and the forms that you completed, they'd send to you investments that they think you'd like to know about. And they'd also send to you their newsletters and any other communication from the regulators and from the ECSC that we think is important to you. And here we have a list of all of the broker-dealers within the ECCU. Most of them are part of larger institution banks. But like I said before, you don't necessarily have to have a bank account at these entities to do trading with them. So we have Bank of St. Lucia Limited, Bank of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, First Citizens Investment Services, Grenada Cooperative Bank, St. Kitts Nevis Anguilla National Bank, and the Bank of Nevis Limited. So this information is available on the ECSC's website. Yuluka spoke to it earlier. There's also social media that you can access whenever you need information or whenever you're ready to start investing. And that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Kishal. I believe we have about 10 to 15 minutes for any questions. So I see there's a mic in the middle of the room. You may proceed to the mic, state your name, and pose your question.
Hi, good day, everyone. My name is Lawrence Joe, broker-dealer out of Bank of St. Lucia. Just to add to what Sister Lucia was saying with regards to the 500 minimum, well, it's actually much more than that. In addition to the 500, it's been decreased from 5,000 to 500. What will happen is that a separate auction will take place where it will just be for individuals, and no entities, institutions will be able to participate. Just for individuals, because what we have seen over the time is that sometimes an auction, say for 20 million comes, and one bank comes and say, well, I want 1%. And 1% makes sense for them because the cost of funds, and as well as they cannot place this money on a savings account or anything to get interest. So 1% is good for them, which will crowd you out. So these special auctions will just be for individuals, minimum 500, but you only allow the one bid up to a maximum of 50,000. So when this comes up, make use of that opportunity. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jean.
My
Morning.
name is Roxana Alexander. I think I have a plethora of questions. And I'm hoping maybe the website or one of the brokers' websites would be able to. Oh, sorry. I'm hoping that one of the broker websites may have sort of information about the questions I have. So I don't want to go into too many of the questions, but basically the questions that I have relates to fees in terms of uptake, redemption, and taxation. So what it costs for the investment, what it costs to take my money out, and what would it cost me, what will the government charge me for those investments?
Okay, that's a very good question. So in terms of fees, you only charge fees when you invest. So it's per transaction, right? And each broker-dealer has their own fee structure. So depending on the broker-dealer you choose, or you could always shop around to see what their fee structure is. And for listed issues, per transaction, there is an ECSE fee attached to it. So the fees are not as exorbitant as you may think. For example, the ECSE fees for trades for bonds is like 0.03% of the amount that you're trading, with a minimum of $12. So we're looking at that, and I know our minimum commission fee is $25. So it's not as exorbitant as you may think. I think it's affordable, and you could, like I said, you could always check that. In terms of taxation, the good thing about it is income from investments within our region are not taxed. So this is put forward by all the governments to encourage persons to participate in the market.
Thank you, Gail.
Hi, good morning. My name is Alan Stafford. So my query is, well, first of all, I'm a little disappointed with the turnout we have today, because I was seeing this swinging on Facebook, but I thought a lot of people, more people would take, advantage of this opportunity. That now begs the question that, or the query that a lot of people are not informed and they're not learned about financial literacy, right? So I'm proposing a plan, especially for Cooperative Bank, that we offer a referral program fee, or referral program, for people like myself, people like Kati in Woban, that because we're very close with the youths, the young people. We have an unofficial local young people program that we run, and we could push this thing, to the young people. We could educate them. I mean, even if Co-op Bank wants us to come to little village seminar, like a campaign, like what the government does, the parties does, Co-op Bank have this. We don't mind. We don't mind. A lot of us don't mind going with you guys and bridging that gap, at a referral program to especially people under the age of 30, and get them involved, because this is such a good thing in order to develop the economy. The plan that the governor spoke about the other day of doubling the economy by when again? 2035, 2030, something like that. That's the only how we can get it done. So I'm really pushing, and I'm really hoping that Core Bank don't let my words fall on deaf ears. Thank you.
All right, thank you for that, Alan. And I was just informed that we have over 100 persons online. So that's the issue. When you give persons this option to come in person or online, they usually tend, but that's a valid point. The sensitization is definitely important. We have a lot more work to do in that regard.
And if I may, just before we go to this, to correct you, we embarking on the big push. The big push is to move our participation in the market from its current level of 1 in 20. So out of every 20 persons, 1 person is an investor. That's not good enough. In the US, it's 1 in 2, I believe. So the governor's vision is to have it to move to 1 in 5 in 10 years. But we know our Grenadians, we like challenges. So we're going to take 5 years to do that. Yeah? So the big push is for us to move to 1 in 5 within the next 5 years.
Good morning, everyone. I'm
Morning.
Nicole Cambridge. I don't have any questions, but probably suggestions. We live in a society where we grew up knowing about to save only. So you finish school, you get a job, you save your money, right? So I believe that, the whole investment situation is more or less, we have to create that change. So it's more or less of a mind change. And we need to at least start from the school level, teaching investments in the school. We need to also go out in the community. Sessions like these are good, but are we reaching who we want to reach, right? So we need to go out in the community. We need to go into the schools as well and change that mindset, right? Savings is not bad, but we need to at least have both of them, savings and investments. I'm a part-time investment analyst, and I also follow the other security exchange as well. And I've also done a course with the Jamaica Stock Exchange. So just sort of kind of looking at the Eastern Caribbean Security Exchange, I hope that they will create something similar to the other exchange whereby, for example, just as the JSC would provide training courses as to how to use their platforms, the different terminology, how to read financial statements, and the brokers as to how to invest. So these sessions are good, but just having little initiatives like that where you just pay a fee for persons who are interested to learn more about the Eastern Caribbean Security Exchange. The other stock exchanges also create pathways for persons not only to invest on the securities that are listed in the market, but pathways are created for opportunities to trade on the international market as well, whether it's in the US or Euro or so. So I really hope that in the future, ECSC will look into creating pathways for us, not only just limited to the 13 equities that's there, but also, to access to international markets as well. And lastly, yes, the investment on the fixed side is good as well, but we also need to educate persons. What are T-bills? What are T-notes? What are bonds? And those sort of things. So we need to really, really go deep into this and do some more work, but it's a good start. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful suggestions. You spoke of the competition. I know we have a competition going on right now. Luca, you want to speak to that? I know that's your baby. Do we still have Luca online?
Yes, yes. Are you hearing me okay?
Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, well, just to say, I acknowledge and we acknowledge that we have a lot more to do in terms of education awareness, and we have been attempting to, and we will continue to partner with brokers in particular, because the brokers are the ones who liaise with the investor and the issuer to bring more of these types of sessions, both in this type of open forum as well as targeted forums for various groups. We have launched last year an inaugural regional schools investment competition where we are targeting the youth populace third form through first-year college students. So part of the competition is an education webinar. So we first initiated with an education webinar to provide them with general information about investment basics and the various types of securities and all those details you had outlined in terms of what's a treasury bill, what's a stock, etc. So we do provide that education through this competition. We had, this year was our second annual competition. We're just wrapping up now. The last trade day was on the 20th last week. And the schools are now submitting their video presentations for evaluation. So we should be announcing the regional champion sometime in December. We already have, the competition takes place in 2 phases, an intra-country round. So we already announced the intra-country winners and they moved on to the regional round. And so it's the regional champion that we will be announcing in December. So we are working toward providing that education in the schools. Of course, we have more to do and we can do it on the ground. So various brokers on the ground can go to the various school communities. We are opening it up to you now if you're interested in having a group discussion, presentation at your various locations. We are willing and available to do so once we can coordinate.
Do we have any schools from Grenada in that competition?
Yes, the schools represented from all of the ECCU countries, yes.
Okay, thank you.
So right now, the regional round, Grenada Boys High School, they're the ones that won the intra-country round and are representing Grenada in the regional round.
But high school won the Grenada round last year, the intra-country round is last year. Same thing, same thing.
That's a question. Go ahead.
Okay, good morning, everybody. My name is Valerie Andrew, and I definitely want to piggyback off of what the gentleman said. I actually did an event 2 years ago with Kishel, and a lot of persons were interested in learning about Co-op Bank being a broker for the ECSE, so there are platforms for Co-op Bank to get the information out there. My question is, are there any mutual funds currently available, or is there plans to get mutual funds in for persons who don't want to, choose their own stocks? And the second question, I guess, relates to the previous lady's suggestion. What would be the benefit of investors who already exist to invest on the ECSE as opposed to the other securities exchange where we may get more significant returns?
I can speak to the mutual funds. And again, it's a pity we were not there last 2 weeks ago at the Trade Center. We had all of the mutual funds providers there present. So we had the UTC Balance Fund out of Trinidad, out of St. Lucia, on a unit trust, a subsidiary of Unit Trust Trinidad. We also had Bank of St. Lucia Global Balance Fund. They were available, and Sagico also presented on there. So we have these 3 funds, and we know that there's one that we're currently looking at the ECSRC, so we expect a 4th fund to come into existence very soon. And it's a very good entry point. It's a collective investment scheme. We don't perhaps individually have the expertise to go there and choose individual funds. Should I go to Amazon or Coca-Cola or whatever? We don't have that expertise at that time. But we have professionals who are trained to do that and who have developed and implemented a collective investment scheme so that when you purchase in a unit from them, you purchase it into a variety of stocks, and therefore you're balancing your investment in that way. So yes, there are 3 at the moment, a 4th is expected, and of course, organizations, again, it's an opportunity for you to establish a mutual fund or get involved as well, both in terms of not just on the demand side as a user of the product, you could also be a supplier. So it's, again, these are business opportunities.
And you had another question, I think? Oh, it answered both. Okay.
I think the other question was about the benefits of the ECSE versus the other exchanges. Well, there's no true, the best way to answer the question, I would say, is that diversification. And we're not telling you that this is the best exchange, that these are the best instruments. It's important to look at all of the options that you have available. We wouldn't want to have an investor invest in all of their funds within one geographical location. The same way, we wouldn't want you to invest in one sector. So it's important to diversify. And if you want to diversify based on geography, then you can look at other options as well, other exchanges. So we encourage investors to invest regardless of where you do it, regardless of the option that you choose. Gail spoke very briefly earlier about the other investment options like real estate and so on. Of course, we're pushing the financial securities today, but once you get involved in investing, do your research, make sure you have enough information before you start, but spread your funds across different options if you see fit.
Okay, so I think we have time for one more question from the room, and then we'll take one online and bring things to end.
That's good, I got through. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dennis Slocum here. And let me just say, I really appreciate this event and the ability for us to come together and discuss investment. For those who were at our investment conference 2 weeks ago, I think this is a momentum that we need to continue because it's very important for us. I just want to make a comment and a question. My comment is that I believe that the direction we're going in terms of the education, right, in the schools, should be also followed with some practical steps. We have a savings union in starting from at primary school level. It will be good if that savings union can run concurrently with an investment union. And it'll be good to hear a child 15 years saying that they have been investing for 10 years. Because since the primary school, they have been doing investments through the savings union, seeing their portfolio grow, seeing how that little monies they put in 10 years later, just a teenager, and they have something to. I think that will help change the whole outlook, because Grenada has had quite a few investment failures in the past, and I think a lot of it, with the older folks, they have that memory of all the other organizations that came and went with their monies, right? But the young people, seeing that from young that they can invest and see the dollar turn into $100 over time, it plants that idea that investment isn't as bad as we make it seem. My question is a little bit more practical in terms of the volatility of the equities market regarding the capital gains. I really want to know how volatile is that market, and will it be profitable? Because I know, for instance, the Grenada shares and these things, I don't think I just want to know how the prices have been changing over the years, over the months, as something that one can trade on and make a profit in terms of that mechanism. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question. With our 13 securities on the exchange, we definitely have a culture of buy and hold when it comes to equities and collecting dividend payments. So as brokers, as investors, what we're trying to encourage is more trading on the secondary market, and that is what would cause the fluctuation in the price, basically demand and supply. We had an event, was it last year or earlier this year, where we had some Lucelix shares coming onto the market for a very long time. The shares traded at $20 per share, and the supply was really low. So when the supply came on, the investor was able to sell their shares at $23 per share. So there was a capital gain there. Also, ECFA shares as well. For a long time, they traded for $3.50. This year, we saw an increase to $4.50, then $5. And I think currently they have some on sale for $10. So it's really the demand and supply. And also, we also need to follow the companies. Are they doing well? Are they paying their dividends? What's their plan for growth? So that's what encourages the trading of the securities. So once we get more persons to participate, we grow the market, we get further trading happening, that's when we will see the increase in volatility in the equities market that we have.
Thank you, Gail. And sure, go ahead.
Just as a follow-up to my friend here, and to what you just said, Gail. Sorry, my name is Natasha Marquez Sylvester. This is just a follow-up in terms of equities. We only have 13. I don't know who would take the initiative, but what are we doing to market that part of the securities exchange to encourage businesses, within small, whoever, to take the challenge and realize that they can use the market as a means to generate capital to grow their business. Maybe we need to do some more in that direction because yes, we're going with we little people that will go and invest. But I think there's a whole world out there in terms of that, and we need to tap it. That's all I have to say.
Oh, definitely. I think we, as a unit, have tried, or we are trying to, basically spread the word and educate the business owners in that aspect, and also to ease the process, I want to say, ease the process into becoming an issuer. So all this is in train right now, and there's something else I wanted to say. Another opposition that we have to that is the availability of cheap loans, if I want to say so, in terms of raising capital. That's why most of the companies would go towards their banks as opposed to listing on the market. But that's definitely a market that we can, and to encourage more companies to list, especially when it comes to continuity of the businesses, because most businesses are family owned and they usually end there. But when they're listed, then we have investors as owners, and for continuity as well and success.
I agree with you. Most of them are family, so we have to change the mindset, yes.
Exactly.
But in terms of financing options, I mean, most small businesses, Cathy standing up by me, most small business people that's looking for funding, they go to a bank. How can I really
Yes. Okay, so we're speaking the same tune, right? Because we have a lot of small businesses that are owned by young people, right? Traditionally, we have the older folks who are not interested in getting an investor to come into the business. They have their children. But what we see, a lot of these same like local businesses, a lot of the trends are not interested in the business, right? And we've seen that the evolving of new people. Just in June this year, Cathy and Alexander Pierre, Grenada Investment Development Corporation, we had a number of local businesses pitching their ideas to some investors that came in on island, right? So they are looking at options. And what we had from that is most of these investors wanted to know what would be my returns on the investment, right? So I think the education, the sensitization to these small businesses and medium-sized businesses is critical for them to know that there are other options. So I just wanted to throw that out because your colleague would have indicated that they're willing to offer training to like the the community, but I also think it is critical to do that to the business community as well.
Thank you, Katia. So, and one question online. Are there plans to develop a system that allows investors to invest from their home without using a broker in a similar way and with the similar ease as opening an account with Interactive Brokers? I believe this is a young person. This Gail, you wanna?
I think the easy answer to say currently no. I think what we're trying to do, especially as brokers, is to provide a digital presence and access to persons who would like to invest. Especially COVID has taught us that we don't need to be in person to open an account, to invest, to transact. But in terms of persons actually going onto the platform and doing trades on their own, in the absence of a broker, I don't foresee that changing anytime soon, because in our space, the brokers are the middleman, and their purpose is also for safety and regulatory purposes, and to protect the investors as well as the issuers. So I think that aspect of the market is a staple for now.
Thank you, Gail.
you.
And I mean, if you
Lawrence,
go ahead, go ahead.
If I might add as well, I think that now it's pretty easy to invest. I mean, once you've gotten over the hurdle of having the conversation with your broker dealer, once you've established the relationship, then communication going forward can be in the form of calls or electronically via emails and so on. So once you've established that account, it's not absolutely necessary to come in every time you need to do business or every time you need to trade, because as you know, it's a very fast-paced sector that we're dealing with. So yes, we have other ways and means in which you can interact with your broker dealer. It's not simply by the paper and the physical means.
Thank you, Kishel. And I mean, if you have any more questions, feel
I-
free to work. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, can I as well just respond to Kathy and Mrs. Sylvester with regards to the support to small business and the support to young investors, young persons, entrepreneurs? There is a role for closer collaboration between the GIDC and yes, because of course the culture has to change and it has to, and again, we have to start with the young people, the people, they're perhaps much more open to new things, new ideas. We have to start. We at the ECSRC are right now in the initial stage of establishing a crowdfunding platform for junior traders, for young persons getting into the business. We're doing it in collaboration with the CDB on the technical assistant. So it's just a matter of time before that platform becomes available where these persons can raise funds and be able to, again, as part of the collective investment to be able to finance their businesses. So it's not all negative. Things are happening. So we look forward to be able to work closely with you, Kathy Ann, on your businesses in that regard as well.
Thank you, Lucia. And as I was saying, if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out at the brokers. They would share their contacts with you. And this brings us to the end of our session. You heard we have the platform, we have the regulators, and we have trained players in the market. We just need you, the investors, to get involved now. I mean, personally, I think the tide is shifting. We are moving from savers to investors, and we just need that paradigm shift to take things forward. So, and I mean, sessions like these are critical, as we said, for sensitization, and I could commit that we would continue these sessions. So, once again, thank you for coming out and get back to where you're going safely. All right?